it says go live, but I don't know if it's set yet. Hold up. I gotta check him because you moved a bunch. Okay. 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 Here we go.
Jay, do me a favor, an inch to your left.
All right, here we go, guys.
Got that.
Just let this run for a second, Will.
We are.
Okay,
Live.
just so I can check it out, make sure we are.
All right, here we are. Woo! All right, I love it. Amazon Live. I want to hear you, RJ.
You can hear me. You can hear me just fine. How you doing, Will?
You know, I'm good. I'm Will Roberts. This is RJ Owens. We are
That's
the
me.
Box Guys Open Box Show, and we're very excited about this new. We are live. I'm looking at us.
So am I.
Uh, this is a new segment of the show that we decided to put in where we talk about authors. And RJ, go on, launch into it. This is kind of your brainstormer.
Well, it was my brainstorm. We were sitting around discussing ideas for the open box show because, as you know, Will and I, we do many live streams on here. We do open boxes about live streaming equipment. We do open boxes about video equipment, sound equipment. We're both professional magicians, so we do an open box show about magic props and buying magic on Amazon. And we're trying to think of things that we're passionate about. And Will and I are both avid readers. And as a matter of fact, in the last 2 weeks, I purchased 7 books off of Amazon. And
Wow.
for those of you who were watching, you might not know that Amazon originally started as a books-only retailer when they first started. I'd probably telling you something you already know, but I always find that interesting for people who don't know that. And I said, well, why don't we do something about books? And we're trying to think of, well, what books will we talk about? We're just going to do like a book corner, and everybody's doing just like a book corner, like their favorite reads or what have you. We didn't want to do a book club because we didn't want you guys, the viewers, to be beholden to having to read a book with us. So we were like, let's talk to authors who are already on Amazon, already selling their products, and are books that we're interested in, and authors that we're interested in. And this is what became of that. It's talking books live. And so we've decided to pick a handful of authors that we have. Will has kids, I don't. So it brings us to our first author that we're going to be bringing here shortly, because we thought it'd be a great way to introduce you guys to some of the authors that are on Amazon. And so that's where it came from. That's the idea. And boy, we have so many great authors lined up for you on this show. Today we have a fantastic author, but we have enough authors to keep us going for the next, I would say, 10 years if we wanted to.
You know, the world of publishing and books has changed so drastically. You know, I started back in like 35 years ago in radio, and a lot of people were authors that came on and they had a book. And about that time is, I mean, you and I have known each other for 40 years. That time is when people started saying, look, I want to publish my own book. And that world of the blog came out, and you know, and you can have your own website with all that information, and people would make ebooks. It has really changed an awful lot since then, and really the power is now sort of in the hands of a lot of the people that may have a book or a blog.
Absolutely. And so many people are self-publishing now because with the advent of the internet, it has become so much easier to self-publish. It's definitely not as cost-effective as having a publisher want to publish a book and they give you money to write the book. That's always the way to go, and that's what we all desire. I mean, I wrote a cookbook in college on how to cook in the dorm and use only the stuff that's in your dorm to make food because
Ramen.
Living in dorms. What? Oh, that was my number one recipe. That was the recipe that got the most likes from friends of mine. It was a top ramen lasagna, and it was so cool. You made it on your radiator when it was cold out, and what you would do is you would take a loaf pan, like one of those bread loaf pans, and you'd take 4 packets of ramen noodles, and you'd break them in half, like because they're folded.
Sure.
So you break the fold in half, and you put a layer of sauce on the bottom, your favorite jarred sauce, whatever you wanted to use, ramen noodles, and then you would take a brick of mozzarella and grate that up,
Oh my
or
God.
whatever cheese you wanted to use. Put that on there, another layer of sauce, more ramen, stack it up, wrap the whole thing in foil, and set it on top of your radiator before you went to class. And then by the time you got home in the afternoon, it was lasagna, and it was absolutely stellar. And it cost, I think, at the time, it was like $4 to make the whole thing. It was amazing.
You
It was absolutely amazing.
Anya.
But that was I was a 25-page cookbook that I actually went to. It wasn't even at Kinko's. I don't even think Kinko's was around it. I think I actually stole the copies. I think I made copies at the library, and then I stapled every book together and sold them. But now with all the advent of self-publishing, and with how good people have become at utilizing all the tools that are available, whether it be hiring a copywriter or hiring an editor, or even going to a site like Fiverr and hiring somebody who will read your book and edit it. You can self-publish pretty inexpensively now, because you don't have to publish 1,000 books or 5,000 books or 10,000 books. You can. I know a publisher, because I'm working on a cookbook myself. That we'll talk about later if you want to. That I can publish myself, and the minimum copies I can make is 100, and that's great.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Well, later on in the show, we've got Liz Lawless, who is our publishing, the publishing posse, and her company called Book Catalyst, who will talk whenever we're on talking books. She'll give people tips on how to actually get on Amazon, to publish, to do what they're doing. So I think you'll like that, and that'll be kind of a good thing. Again, with the advent of people being able to have the internet and find out how they can do their own self-publishing, I went through and published a book I did called The Crackpot's Pot Shot on American Politics, and I took the route that I don't recommend people do, which is called a vanity press, which means that you pay thousands of dollars and then you go like this, and they don't really sell much, so, and that company actually went out of business. I won't say who they are, but the point is that there is a lot of possibilities. But what we're trying to do with this show is, one, give you some great authors, some great content, and then when we we do that, we also want to give you tips and tricks on how you might be able to do it, because it is almost like making a film. It is in everybody's realm, in everybody's reach, to be able to have your own equipment, to do your own live streams, to do your own books, to do your own talking, podcast, whatever. So that's why we're here to do that. And by the way, at the bottom of all of this, you can see we have products here that we specifically handpicked that you might like. Of course, our author that's going to be on in seconds from now, which I will let you have the honor of introducing as soon as we show you who it is. I will say, it's you. I will say that any of the books you see in there are his, no one else's, and some other fun stuff like maybe coffee mugs, whatever the case may be, a book light, because people like to read in the dark. Whew. And all kinds of stuff. You're just smiling, happy.
I am just smiling. I'm watching you. I'm like, every show I do with you, it's always well, what's he going to do next?
What's he going to do next?
Always a surprise.
All right, so we're going to take a small little teeny break, let you see who the guest is, and then when we come back, we'll bring him in on 3-shot, and we'll talk about the books and everything else that this man has to offer. Hang tight. And here we are. We're back to the show. RJ, please have the honors. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I thought you would take me off. I thought you would take me off mute before we came back in. I see how this is going. You just want to be the voice of Open Box Show. I get it, Will. It's fine. Please, if you'll notice in the center is the man, the myth, the legend. It gives me great honor to bring to our platform here on Amazon Live, J. Stephen Sadler of J. Stephen's Garden. J. Stephen, welcome and good afternoon.
How are you guys doing?
We're good.
We're doing okay now. It was a little rough at the start. As you know, you were here waiting with us, and we were having a bit of an issue. But we're doing great now, and it's such a pleasure to have you on here, because you are not only a motivational author and an author with a great story, and we're going to talk about that book later, but you're also what can be classified as a children's author, but not just books for children, but books that encourage children to create, but also teach a little bit of a life lesson. Am I correct?
Yeah, all right, spot on.
So why don't you?
Yeah, hey, I did my homework.
You did. Yeah, that's it. Now we just let you talk for an hour. No. One thing that is really kind of cool that we want to tell you beforehand is that you have put together some great books to help kids cook, obviously families put things together to be healthy and so on. And interesting thing is that both RJ and I worked with a character. What was the name of the character that we worked with?
Billy Brockaflower.
Yeah, for newness, because we both lived in Salinas, California. So when we heard about you, we both jumped on this because we spent a year and a half, 2 years with a program that went around the schools that was trying to help kids healthy eating. And as you know, it's a very difficult thing to do because, hey, I got a 7 and a 10-year-old. And as much as we try to instill in them smoothies that, by the way, I eat smoothies that most people would throw up when they eat, like kale.
Most definitely.
But the point is that getting the kids to be able to do this and think a different way and their taste palettes to be able to work. This is what you have done in spades.
Well, I've been in the business for years. And one of the things I did, I was always about healthy eating. My bistros, I had a cafe up in New York, and then I've got one down in Dallas. And I've always been one of those people, I drew the line on no chemicals, no artificial ingredients, no fake colorants or whatever. Everything has always been natural. So I've always been along those paths. Mm-hmm. But it expanded into the children as we went on. But so it wasn't new for me. But I also knew, having been in the business, that children are unique in getting them to eat healthy. It has to be fun, and healthy eating is not fun in a child's mind.
No. There's too many times where, again, as when I was a kid and we were all kids, they would just force things at us, or not force, they would advertise. I worked for Fox Kids for about 7 years, and there was a huge written law that as a Fox Kids Club host, I couldn't say, hey, everybody, I want you to know this is an awesome cereal. Because I would get stuff at the station in droves sent to me going, can you tell our people about our product? And I'm like, no, because that's a commercial. But the big thing is that they did not want the food FDA and so on and broadcast. They would not let us talk about things because they didn't want us to influence them. But hence that we'd be running commercials that were like Pop-Tarts and, all that other fun stuff. And I don't mean to talk badly about all processed foods, but there really it should be very minimal of that. And what you're doing is a better way of approaching it.
I have a sign in my bistro in Dallas that says, if you can grow it, eat it. So that should tell you what my thoughts are on processed foods. That's a real simple rule of thumb if you want to eat healthy. If you can grow it, eat it. If you can't, you probably should stay away.
Yeah. When I was a kid growing up, my parents were children of the 50s. And or the 40s and 50s, and so every vegetable that I had as a child was a canned vegetable. And that is where my distaste for vegetables came from at an early age. And it wasn't until I was 18, 19 and cooking for myself that I had a properly cooked Brussels sprout, and I had properly cooked broccoli and green beans, and I knew that a salad could have a very light vinaigrette as opposed to a gallon of ranch dressing on it. And I learned those things, and now as an adult, you were saying that Will was saying that kids don't want to eat healthy. Hell, adults really don't want to eat healthy. Unfortunately, I am a fat guy. I'm losing weight. I had gastric sleeve surgery 7 months ago, and I've lost 200 pounds since then. And my entire lifestyle has changed. Number one, the amount of food, but also the food that I put into my body as part of the energy that I need to sustain myself. And I'm finding, as I'm going through that process and reliving my childhood of what I was eating then, I really realized no wonder I grew up to be a fat guy, because all of the processed foods are forced down our throats, literally and figuratively, as children, with the fast food industry, with the sugar sweetened cereals, with all the snack foods. And now it's so much easier for kids to eat healthier because there's such an abundance of that out there. Farmers markets are a huge thing for me. Even though I grew up in Salinas, California, which is the salad capital of the world, it's where 90% of the United States' vegetables are grown. I didn't realize that as a youngster, and now that I'm an adult, I find myself sourcing all those things. So, what you're doing in instilling in the youngsters of today about the healthy living, healthy eating, is not only just for them, but it's also for their parents, because these books are not there. Yes, they are books for children, but from what I've read, they're meant to be read as a family. They're meant to be read as a cohesive familial unit, because it also, not only do they teach the life lessons that are in there about acceptance, about tolerance, about everything, but you give a recipe or two that will let them expand on that. And I think that is such a novel concept.
Yeah.
When did you get the urge to start writing for children? When did you get that urge? When did you get that bug? When did that slap you in the face?
And why children?
Well, I travel around the world. And what I do, one of the things I do, I take people with me, and I travel around the world looking for unique dishes. And one of the things I found was that in most of the world outside of the United States, everybody eats natural. It's just the way it is. We're the ones that have everything made for us. It's all pre-made. You go to Italy and everybody has pasta every day, and yet they're not overweight because it's made that day. It's not preserved. It's not put into a box and then shipped. And so all the vegetables are bought on the way home. They purchase their vegetables, their bread and whatnot, and that's what they eat that night. And that's kind of unique in the United States. Unfortunately, one of the rule of thumbs in the restaurant business is if you put the word healthy next to a dish, you lose 20% of the business on that dish. And that's pretty astounding. And that's basically because when we went to healthy, we went to what people think now is healthy is dry, tasteless.
Yeah.
And so you have to overcome that, first of all, and let people know. And that's what kids think too. And so what happened in my bistro down in the suburb of Dallas, I had several schools that would come in because we would let them use our bistro. I used to do externships for chefs, and all my chefs are classically trained chefs. Yeah, and I would do externships, and they would learn how to make the right dishes, and we made everything from scratch, still to this day. And the kids would come in and watch the chefs make dishes, and they had never seen that. Because like you said, you have vegetables that come out of a can. Well, they don't come out of a can in my bistro. And so the progression from that was the schools asked me if I would speak to the children about healthy eating. Well, that was a real challenge because I knew kids, the moment you say healthy, you lost them. They're gone. So I worked on a presentation that would make it fun, funny looking vegetables, that the kids would laugh at, and that would get them engaged. And I started talking to the schools. And one of the tricks I did, which is real interesting, I don't know if you've both had edamame at all.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I would bring in edamame at the end of my presentation, talking about all these funny vegetables and where they came from and how they look. And I would bring out edamame and I would serve it. We would serve it to all the kids that we were presenting to. And we'd say, now you pop, these are like M&Ms, they pop, and the kids thought that was fun. Half of them didn't like them. The other half did. Okay. And then we said, okay, now we're going to bring you hamburgers. Well, all the kids, got excited. Well, they were, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they were Impossible Burgers, which are all made from vegetable.
Yeah.
They're not a traditional vegetable burger, which tastes to me dry and tasteless. Yeah. They taste just like burgers. And we pass these all out to the kids. And they're made out of soy, which is the same thing as edamame.
Right.
So I'd have the kids eat their hamburgers. They were delicious. And I'd say, do you know that that's the same thing as those? And the kids would go, no way. Yeah. And that would open up their eyes that you can take a vegetable and actually make it good. And that was the beginning of me working with kids around the country on different schools about eating healthy. And that's how I started this. And I had a lot of teachers that would tell me, I wish you had like a manual or something And I know a manual wouldn't work for kids. Kids aren't going to go through a manual. And that's something that the kids could follow, because they go home and they tell their mother, I want a edamame burger or whatever. The parents are like, what is that? What are we talking about? They have no idea.
Right.
And so I had written a book, Quest for the Best, about my travels around the world. And so I have always been writing. And I decided that I would write some books for the kids, but I wanted to make the books really interesting. And so I created a series called Happy Veggie series of books. And that's how I got into writing my books.
Right. Well, I have to tell you, first of all, we talked about what families feed us, and I want to ask you about that element regarding the families, because the education for the mom and dad or grandma and grandpa sometimes is based upon convenience. And I know that I grew up in the south side of Chicago, and no offense, but my parents cooked so badly that I remember going to the doctor at like 9 because I had digestive like cramps, and they went, yeah, you know what, you got to stop eating steak and potatoes, buddy. But the point is that my parents would burn a minute steak, and it's in the name is it has the directions in it, and I'm being serious when I say that we just had really bad food. But how much of that can you address as a writer and what you've done traveling around the world and putting these together, which, by the way, if you look on the bottom of the screen, you'll notice that the books are there. Paulina Potato, you've got, what do I see here? Sammy Spinach, different names to make it interesting. But how do you reach the parents?
Well, real simple. You really have two challenges. Your first challenge is to engage the children. You have to make it interesting. And that's why I do a book that's all illustrated. And each book has an individual vegetable that has a challenge. Now, I look for 3 goals in my books. One is to have a moral to the story. Sammy Spinach, as an example, he can't see. He's always the weakest of the bunch. And so he always feels bad. And the whole story is about him in the garden and not feeling like he's just not as strong as some of the other vegetables. And he doesn't find out till later when he goes to the farmer's market, and the mother and the daughter come up, and the daughter asks the mother, why spinach? And she says, well, spinach will help make you big and strong. That his reason in life is to help children become big and strong, not for him to be big and strong. And Chucky Carrot, since he grows in the ground, he can't see the sun, so he's always upset that he can't see all the great things that all his other veggie friends can see. What he learns is that the reason for his being is that he helps children see better. And what I do after each book, in the carrot book, Chucky Carrot, I have a recipe for a carrot recipe, that carrot muffins that are real simple, that so the kids can say, oh, I want to try the carrot muffins. And they taste great, but they're all healthy. They're all natural. Believe it or not, Sammy Spinach, I have a spinach popsicles that don't taste like spinach at all. But once the kids have them, they'll want them all the time, but there's spinach in the popsicles.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting about that, I have to interject, is that, again, having a 7 and 10-year-old, we actually make like for beet juice, right? We did it like a lemonade thing and added in, because my wife and I used to live in Santa Cruz, California, which is near Salinas and Monterey. And so when we were doing that, we were making tinctures and we were making all organic stuff. But interestingly enough, you look at a lot of the stuff on the backs of things and you see just the food colorings, the garbage, and not knowing that you can do these things. And we turned them into experiments, kind of like you're talking about, cooking experiments. And the kids are like now coming up with these concepts going, this is what I could do. And they go to school, which they've now sort of going back to doing. And the kids are talking about how their parents are, eating out all the time because of COVID, and then Happy Meals and Super Size Me. And it's like, this is that time when we should now be pulling together as a community, as a family, to come up with some great stuff to do. Because I'll tell you, we've saved a lot of money staying indoors because of COVID.
Yeah. And I understand that as a restaurant owner. I do understand.
Oh, yes. Wrong subject. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I do understand it, though. And the key is, what I was trying to do is not only always tell a moral of a story with each story, but also show the kids try this dish, like my Eddie eggplant. They're making eggplant brownies, and they taste just as good as a regular brownie, and they're healthy, and they're easy to make. So I accomplish a couple of things. One, the kids, when they read the books, they tell the mother, let's go try to do it. They usually work together in the kitchen, which is unusual.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they make these brownies, and now the kids say, eggplant's pretty good. I can eat eggplant, or
It's funny
broccoli. I do broccoli tater tots after Bubba Broccoli book. It's broccoli tater tots. You can't tell the difference. Kalinda cauliflower is cauliflower mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
And they're all easy dishes to make. And so the kids, what you're doing is just showing the kids that you can make dishes that are easy to make, that are vegetables. It's more a family unit thing where the kids and the mother and the father, who's ever cooking, work together to make the dish of their favorite veggie character.
Absolutely.
And that's the idea
I love the Eddie eggplant story. Number one, because I do a chocolate eggplant ice cream for my vegan friends.
Oh, interesting. Great.
Yeah, and I use the eggplant and the pectin in the eggplant as the milk solids, if you will, that actually cause it to freeze well and give it that mouthfeel.
Right.
The thing I love about your books is that we say the moral of the book. It is the morality of the books. Is that you're not teaching kids that you're not telling kids that they should aspire to be this. You're showing them that no matter what they think they're supposed to be, maybe there's a hidden goal for them, or maybe there's a hidden purpose that they might not have thought out, which is a wonderful way to get children to start thinking outside of that box that everybody else puts them into. You have to be this way. You're going to grow up.
I wanted to cover those challenges that kids face all the time. They're too big, they're too small, they're too skinny, they're too heavy, they're not personable. And so in each book, I kind of go through each book covers a different area. I have a new book coming out. It hasn't gone to print yet, Sydney Stringbean. And he's like the weakest of all the string beans. And what happens is all the other string beans decide we're going to help him by sharing our water, our fertilizer, or the sun. We're going to move the leaves away so that he can become big and strong like us. And that I'm trying to show that, if kids work together, they can help maybe the weakest one of the group to become strong like them. And so everything has a moral. And I don't shove it down the kids' throats, because that's when you lose the kids. It has to be fun. That's why I think you've seen the books. I do the coloring books, and I match the coloring books. And the reason I did that, each book has a matching coloring book, so the kids can either try to match the colors, or they can try to create their own look.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And it's just another thing to keep the kids involved in the whole process.
Well, you'd be amazed. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're on that thought.
I was just going to say that if you're interested in those coloring books or any of the Happy Veggies books, they're down below in the scroller below us. You can see them. They're all there for that you can pick up. We also threw in if you need to pick up crayons or anything like that. And I actually threw in a couple of items that would help foster kids in the kitchen. I put in a couple of kids' cooking sets, which are all utensils and kitchen implements meant for children. So a whisk that fits their hand, and a bowl that's their size, and an actual apron that they can wear. So when they get in the kitchen, it's not like when we were kids and we had the big bowl and we're trying to get this whisk going. They have stuff that they can use, that they want to use, that's going to make it fun for them. So that's all down there if you guys want to take a look at that.
Apron.
Yes, but
you have.
But anyway, well, you were going to say before I interrupted. Absolutely,
No,
it has.
What I was going to say is that you're absolutely right about how to approach kids, because again, both of us we've worked in the children's, or I'd rather call it the family industry, for 40 years. And the thing is that there's a really big difference between performers and educators that talk like this, and educators that talk like this. And when you treat the kids like they're not kids, and you give them the benefit of the doubt most of the time, you'd be surprised. They're sometimes, or a lot of times, even smarter than their parents, because they're in a society, well, maybe where they're on their phones or they're on their iPads, or maybe in Minecraft they've got a place that they can make a cornfield or something. But it really is because we spent many years traveling around doing the show about this about the character and the nutrition, and we brought samples to the schools and they would love them, and they would just with peanut butter instead of ranch, with stuff like that. But I think a lot of this is really good, and if not good for today, which we hope it is, it's something that we are seeing increasingly more important as we go on because of our mortality rate and obesity in United States of America.
Right. It's funny. One of the things you might not think of, if you're a restaurant owner and you go out into your restaurant, you're not somebody who owns and someone else goes out front.
Yeah.
You learn very quickly how to work with children as well, because when you have a family at a table and the child screaming, you learn really fast how to work with that child. And you would be surprised how many parents say, thank you. I don't know what you did, because sometimes the kids won't listen to the parents.
Right.
Oh, really?
But you can go there and you talk to them and you show them things, and you do you know about this, what it does with the vegetable, and the kids all of a sudden get interested and they're good. And so you learn really fast how to work with children if you want to keep peace in your restaurant. So that, believe it or not, helps a great deal.
Jay, I have an idea for you, and this is $1 million idea. I'm going to call it my A+ note for the day. You need to open a chef's table in your bistro for kids only.
Oh, it's an interesting idea. Yeah,
Where do you send the
that would be fantastic. I would love that. Will, do you even know what I'm talking about?
A chef where they prepare?
Send me the bill for that idea or what?
No, it's all. Just send me some pastrami someday. That's all I ask.
So tell us, RJ, what is a chef? I'm assuming it's a prep table, right?
No, it's not a prep table. A chef's table is usually a table for a smaller group. I've never seen it bigger than 4, although I know some people have gone parties of 6. And you're sitting in the kitchen, and you don't necessarily order off the menu. The chef prepares what he wants to prepare for you, but you get to see everybody in the back of house, from the sous chefs to the salad preps to the dessert to the line chefs to the line cooks to the expediters. Everybody doing their business in that fast-paced hustle bustle. But you're also learning so much more about what goes on behind those doors that everybody's afraid to go back behind.
Do you know
now,
is that?
My bistro, what I always do, I always have open kitchens.
As it should be.
Yeah, I have a bistro bar right outside my kitchen, and people love to go in there and just watch the chefs prepare their dishes.
Do you know
Absolutely.
who does that, by the way?
I think that's real important that you see it created.
Do you know
it just doesn't come out magically.
Do you know who does that, by the way?
Who?
Buco de Beppo. What's it called? Buco de Beppo?
Yeah, right.
I went and took my kid. We went to the Magic Castle because we're both members, but in LA. And
wait, your kid's a member of the Magic Castle?
Huh?
Your kid's a member of the Magic Castle?
No, I am, and now I've gotten a really good place to get fast food. Anyway, but bottom line is that they have that table, and the kids are so excited that was the only thing they talked about, other than the fact that they had a dessert that was they should be arrested. It's like this big. I can't even do the full screen. It's this big, and I'm like looking at this going, oh man, it's 7 o'clock at night. My kid's never going to sleep. And it's just ice cream and a cookie this big. Anyway, other than that, it's cool because they do, like you said, RJ, great idea. You get to experience it. And if the place is really doing healthy stuff, well, that's even better.
Absolutely.
Well, you have an open kitchen. You have to be clean. I teach all my chefs because some chefs are really good and they're a mess.
Yeah.
Other chefs, and if you're in big restaurants, somebody will clean up after me.
Right.
I like small bistros where the chefs know I always tell the chef that the dish you're making is like a painting. It's your creation. Well, let the people see how you created it, and that makes it that much more valuable. So I think that's important for people to see the actual crafting of the food. So I love the idea you had there.
I remember. Go ahead. I grew up. My parents divorced when I was 13, and my mother said, I've cooked for your father for the last 29 years. I'm not going to be doing any more cooking. So if you'd like to eat, you'd better learn how to cook. And so I learned all of my cooking skills from watching PBS, watching Jeff Smith, the Frugal Gourmet, watching Julia, of course, watching Jacques,
Sure.
watching all those chefs growing up. And I remember when Jacques Pepin's book came out, Kitchen Essentials, the big fat,
Yeah,
had
sure.
everything. And I was like, and I was maybe 14, 15. I'm like, well, what about something for us young people? Teach us knife skills, teach us that stuff. I don't want to have to read this holy tome of knowledge and try to figure it out. I would like to go to a class as a youngster and who teaches me how to tuck my fingers, who teaches me how to grip a knife, who teaches me the proper way to use a whisk, all that stuff. And the fact that we're getting children involved in that more and more, especially TV is such a bonding moment for families now. When we were growing up, it was just a place to put us in front of the TV, shut us up for a couple hours, And now, because of the shows that are being created, like Top Chef Junior and those things, where kids are seeing other kids creating fantastic dishes alongside of adults, that is also getting the families involved in more of these things, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my kids watch that religiously. Well, we watch a lot of Food Network, but more importantly, they cannot live without Nailed It. Although I watched Nailed It and thought to myself in the beginning, I'm like, what is the story? Not a single one of these people can cook. Do they cook? But my kids just absolutely loved it. And I'll tell you the reason why is that then we did something on a weekend where we're made, cookies out of not, because I'm allergic to dairy. So the point is that instilled in them that they could do something like this. So hey, anything that gets them moving in the right direction, we're for it.
Well, and the key is for kids, and even not even for kids. To me, too many recipe books are like manuals. Step 1, step 2, step 3. I'm coming out with a recipe book. Probably the middle of this year. It's done. It's being edited right now, and I give the background of each dish, where I found it, why I liked it, why I use this type of ingredient other than those. I actually give them notes on where to find those ingredients, why they're better, and the interaction with it. And then at the end of the book, I have all kitchen tips on little things. Why use this pan instead of that pan?
Yeah.
Why this comes out this way instead of that? And I don't want it to be a manual. I want it to be something that somebody would actually read, even if they weren't going to cook.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you what. That's why I'm calling RJ on that interview when that book comes out, because I will. First of all, I learned when I got married to my wife that I actually couldn't cook. I thought I could. At least I was trying stuff and doing things. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm pretty good at the barbecue because I turn it off at a certain time and let it sit, along with my eggs. Anyway, I have my ideas that I cook better than I do. So anyway, if I ever do become single, I'll be able to cook my garbage for me. But the point is that this is why I'm going to have RJ interview you on that book, because this man, I remember going to his house several times for Thanksgiving, and I don't know how so much food wound up on a table for two guys, but we finished it and it was good.
Eating is a great bonding moment, not just for families, for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny. In the United States, it's real big on drive-throughs and fast and whatnot. The rest of the world, dining is a social engagement.
Yes.
It's funny. Americans say, "Oh, I can't stand France. They don't take care of you." No, they leave you alone because you're going to sit at that table for 4 hours. You might get there at 9 and read the paper and leave at 9 at night. And so they leave you alone. But in America, it's like, come on, bring it quick.
Turn and burn.
Yeah, the rest of the world is different. It's the way I remember. My mother, my dad was Austrian. That's where the family artisan crumb cake comes from. But my mother was Italian. And as you know, you grow up like what your mother is. Your father shows up, but your mother is. So we grew up with tables that were 20 feet long, with 50 people on.
Manja.
Oh yeah, right, manja, right, yeah. And I mean, it was a non-stop eating. It was, and everybody enjoyed it, and you don't see that much in the States anymore.
Well, you don't see but what you don't see is, I always make a joke to people and say chew 32 times when I see them eating, but you don't see people taking the time to actually try something, and then perhaps, because I live in Temecula, California, there's 30 wineries in back of me, and
Right.
where we, might do food pairing, and you learn. I mean, I learned this when I was in my 20s, because again, I came from the family I came from, but then I started hanging around people that were eating places where the meals weren't this big, they were this big, and
Right.
and you had, a little asparagus, and by the way, I had some last night with prosciutto. Thank you very much, that was awesome. But the
Oh,
point is that uh you learn to eat to enjoy, not like I grew up as, I don't want to say, I'll just say trash. And the problem with that is that we ate, if you were my brothers, because I had two brothers, we would eat and then go, "You done with that? You done with that?" Yeah. And you ate to the point where you were overeating. And
yeah.
what I learned when I got older was that what you do is you eat a normal amount, wait a little bit, and you'll notice that that will go away, instead of going, "I still don't feel full," and you keep eating. And so consequently, I had some pretty big family members.
Well, because we had so many people, and my mother used, it's funny, everybody used to come to our house on Sundays. And so my mother would make a big spread every Sunday, not knowing who was going to show up. And, well, maybe two or three
Wow.
times a year, no one showed up. And we were like, what are we going to do with all this food? You know? But you would just pick at it all day long because it was a social event.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much what you were eating as much as that you were with a group of people you loved and enjoyed, and you joined together. And I think
Absolutely.
that's lost now. And
Yeah.
Absolutely lost.
quite honestly, I know the pandemic is a terrible thing, but it actually brought some families back together because they
It
couldn't
did.
leave the house.
No,
You know,
it did.
come in, and in that way, it's been a little. It's helped some families, I think. And I see
Absolutely.
that I'm trying to get that back, that social. And my books with the kids do that. My recipe book, all that is tied together. I mean, we didn't talk about it, and I don't want to pitch it, but I even did a kit with my books where it has the crayons and the coloring book and the books, and it's in a box, and you take it when you travel, because I knew people are traveling by car now, so they're the ideal size and not these giant books, and you take them when you travel, just so you can do a family event together.
Why isn't that on Amazon, Jay Stephen?
It isn't yet. I'm working on, because Amazon is listing the books.
Right.
They haven't listed, you'd have to go to my website to get it right now, but I'm working on putting on Amazon, because I have to put it on an Amazon store for them to have it.
Right.
Because it's not a book, it's a package.
Right.
Okay, so it's a little bit different.
Jay Stevens, we have to wrap up your interview. Very sadly, I thought when we first started putting this clock together about the time frame that we were maybe going to have a problem with filling the time, but I had a feeling when you came on and we had some wonderful bloopers together and we all became family,
Right.
that was going to be smooth sailing. Fantastic stuff. Please look below, everybody. You'll see the books. You'll see crayons. You'll see everything that you need to be able to be a successful, healthy person. And we're going to definitely have you back on the show. Thanks for hanging out with us, brother.
I believe we're actually going to have you back on talking about your cake, your family recipe, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yeah, sure.
So I can't wait for that.
Enjoyed it.
All right.
What you're doing, Jay Stephen, is just admirable, and please keep up the good work. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. You have a good day.
Be safe.
Bye.
Well. By the way, chew 32 times. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Liz Lawless, who is definitely our publisher on the spot, to talk about how to be as successful and amazing as this young man in the middle. See you in a minute. All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Will Robertson, of course, Talking Books Live, the show that talks to authors and people that are, well, help publish the books, get them out there, and get the writer's dreams into your hands, and so you can read it. Uh-oh, it's only a bowling alley in the back there. That's my crew. They're always working hard to try to make the set look better, which is weird because it's all bricks. But hey, really excited this next segment we have coming up. RJ and I are, we're the open box guys, but the show's called the Open Box. And we're always trying to get new cool things that we can talk about. Today, we're very excited that this segment that we're about to introduce is another part of the Open Box show, or I should say, Talking Books Live. Talking Books Live. And a very good friend of mine, I've known her for a long time, and kind of connected with some of my cowboy roots. Get her done. And she is a young lady by the name of Liz Lawless, and she has an amazing publishing company. She's been doing the Amazon publishing stuff for 100 years, which is amazing. She doesn't look more than 25. But she's been doing it a long time, and she has some amazing secrets. So if you all are on Amazon right now, 'cause we're live, you can send questions and we might focus on them, spotlight them. But if you're into writing and want to get published, you probably want to take notes. So without further ado, my good friend, and love the fact that she's offered to come on and give us pearls of wisdom every single show. Here she is, Liz Lawless, of course, Book Catalyst and the posse, the publisher's posse. Book Catalyst is the company. Publishing posse. When you get into her group, she has a newsletter that she has that and that you're part of the posse. How are you, Liz?
I'm great. Well, thanks so much for having me.
You
Very
know,
exciting.
yeah, it is exciting because you and I have, boy, we've been talking for a long time. We won't get much into that because I know people want to see the secrets, the pearls of the wisdom. But we've known each other for quite some time, so it's exciting for me to come on and do this. You're in Texas, I'm in California. There's a little uh, oxymoron. But anyway, I'm excited to have you on the show.
Me too. Thanks so much for having me. This will be great. And we look forward to sharing, some publishing secrets that people need to know that they don't know.
Yeah,
The
I
reason
mean,
people aren't successful is they don't know what they don't know.
they don't know what they don't know, and the bottom line is that I think, in my experience, as all the things I've done, the learning curve, as much as you want to take that pill and and have it work overnight, is it like that? Tell me that.
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, it's, writing and publishing is a process. And that's what, and I'm not saying you can't write something in a weekend or a day, but you can't market it. You can't publish it. You can't, there are a lot of steps. As I say, there are a lot of moving parts in publishing. And, it's a process. And you got to live with that process. The other thing that happens is your brain. Our
Yeah.
brain works a certain way.
Uh-huh.
And it likes to bring things together. It likes new things. It likes to explore things and discover things. And then when you're doing something else, your brain's working behind the scenes. See, that's what we don't understand. That's what a lot of people don't understand. That's why when you write, you go away and you come back to it. And when you come back to it, you have new thoughts. You go, aha, you have those aha moments. You also can see those grammatical mistakes.
Yeah, and also there is a sort of a chain of learning, the learning curve of, you may be really good, it might be wonderful what you've written, but you kind of learn about the grammatical parts, and then you get team people. You're working together with people that can help you. If you're blog publishing, I mean, there's, like you said, there are so many working pieces that it's difficult to, I mean, it's you're not really going to wake up one day and be what we call an overnight success, which, by the way, usually takes about 30 years. But we don't
Right.
want to discourage. But wait, I'm going to say something. We don't want to discourage people going, well, I'm done with this show.
All
30
right.
years.
No, you can do it faster, and you can do it a lot faster today than you used to could.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
because like I say, the big five pieces are writing, publishing, launching, marketing,
Yeah.
and distribution. Okay, and
Uh-huh.
those are all separate things, and that's why it's such a challenge sometimes for people. People can get it written. Sometimes they can get it published. They can self-publish, work with a traditional publisher, but it's the ongoing marketing and sales and distribution, and there are so many, and depending on what you're writing, if you're writing fiction or nonfiction or children's books, which are kind of the three main categories
Uh-huh.
of writing. But today, publishing is not just about writing books.
No.
Okay, publishing could be a blog, publishing could be a video blog, publishing could be a newsletter, publishing could be a podcast, because
Yeah.
it's content. It's all about content today.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that content can be distributed in multiple ways.
Yeah.
So that's what's exciting. But I think the book business is here to stay. You know, people keep saying the book business is going away, or paperbacks and hardbacks are going away. We haven't seen that at all. And especially with COVID-19,
Right.
publishing is up about 25%. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's people buying. Now, there's a lot more digital and audio, but
Yeah. I wonder why it's up. I'm sitting here in the
Right.
comfort of I'm sitting here in the comfort of my own Zoom, and
Right.
and even though I have a nice shirt on, I have my pajamas on below. I'm kidding, but the thing is that you brought up a lot of good points, and again, I don't want to discourage anybody. I personally wrote a book called A Crackpot's Pot Shot on American Politics, and I learned that it was great that I wrote about this to that, but what happened was within 2 years, this to that was old. And I also learned what it was like to go to a vanity publisher and
Right.
spend a lot of money and get no results. And now it's funny because the book hasn't been out in, gee whiz, 10 years, or it's out, but hasn't been like out. And the company went under. And now I get probably 5 places a week calling me up going, hey, that book you got, we want to get it out there. It's awesome. I'm like, yeah, it's so awesome that you actually didn't read it, because if you did, you'd go, that was 10 years ago. So let's talk about specifically for today's show. Let's talk about becoming an Amazon, because we are on Amazon Live. If you have questions, I've looked down. I didn't want to be disrespectful. I looked down. People are starting to give questions, but I wanted to ask you to be into the Amazon world, which is great because I get so many boxes a day. It must be popular.
Must be
Give us some basic idea how to do that, or give us your take on Amazon book publishing.
Well, obviously Amazon's the biggest platform in the world for selling books. Okay, Amazon's a marketing platform. That's what people don't understand that either. But whether you like them, you either love them or you hate them. It doesn't matter. If you're going to publish a book, you need customers. Okay, and your customer is going to Amazon. I don't care who they are or what they're going to Amazon. Now we're brand loyal, especially in like America, North America. We're a lot more brand loyal maybe than other people.
Yeah.
So, if you're an Apple person, you might go to Apple Books.
Sure.
If you're a Barnes and Noble person, that's one of our big stores here in the United States. They have 1,300 plus stores,
Wow.
retail stores. Walk in, and buy a book off the shelf. If you're a Barnes and Noble person, you might go to Barnes and Noble first, but your customer is going to go to Amazon. And if
I
they
went
can't find
yesterday.
your book,
By the way, yesterday I did go with my wife and my kids because we like to actually touch books.
right? And yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
so we were at Barnes and Noble. Go ahead.
Oh, that's great. Well, and that's the thing. So, but your customer's going to go to Amazon. And if you're not on Amazon, guess what? They got 500,000 other choices.
Yeah.
So they're not looking for you. So we always publish on Amazon first. It depends on the person. If you're doing a children's book, fiction or nonfiction, we do mostly nonfiction and children's books. I don't do a lot of fiction. Just because that's a whole nother ball game, and there's enough going on, with just the platforms that we're working with or the genres we're working with. But we start with an ebook with a lot of people because that's simple, that's easy. You can get it up, you can get some traction, you can begin to build an audience.
Yeah.
With an ebook, you can begin to get a little revenue coming back your way because
Sure.
it is an investment. The biggest myth or mistake I think people make is they don't think they have to spend any money. Well, you don't have to spend any money. You can learn everything you want, but you're talking about that 30 years that you were just talking about earlier. It's
I don't have
really,
my screen. Yeah.
you don't have to spend 50,000 or 100,000, but you're going to have to spend a couple of $1,000s, maybe
Yeah.
$4,000 or $5,000 over a period of time, 6
Sure.
months, maybe a year, something like that. I mean, that's a reasonable expectation that people don't understand. So
No, they don't.
but
And
going
one thing I want to say about that is that it is so much better for you to. It's like almost, I'll say almost like remodeling a home or a room. Is that you don't want to just start knocking down the walls and going, this is going to be awesome, and then you get a month or two into it and go, oh, we had to get permits. Oh, you mean you don't? This won't fit here. The problem with book publishing, in my sort of idea about this problematic thing that people don't realize is that by doing the blog, you'll see if it's popular. You can tweak the writing. You can get out there and get a base of people that would be interested.
Right.
If you just, hey, if you got the money and you want to lay down the cards and just feel like it's that strong, you're going to be the next Stephen King, all good. All good. Go for
Right.
it. Get her done. But
All right.
the reality is
Yeah.
that you, and please back me up on this, is that again, that learning curves can probably save you one time, and number two, an awful lot of money.
Right, exactly. And it will. So, and that's the thing about it. So, today, the reason I think it's the greatest time in the world to publish is because you do have these platforms. You
Yeah.
can get in front of your audience, you can build an audience. You need to be doing that while you're writing. You need to be thinking about marketing before you ever start. What happens is people write their book, or they spend 6, 7, 10 years writing a book. Then they get out, they get it published, and they go, "Oh, you mean I got to sell this book?" People aren't going to just
Wait,
come.
you mean
It's not
you
filled.
mean it's not jumping off the shelves? It's not jumping off the shelves? What the hell?
Exactly, so that's the thing about it. It's a process, and we also get a question a lot of times, what do I write about?
Yeah.
Well, what you write about is something you know and love, because you're going to be with it for a while. Like you say,
Yeah.
10 years. You've had your book 10 years. I've had, I started writing in 89, 92, and my first published in 92, after 47 rejections from traditional publishers, which stabs you in the heart, and you cry and you put it away and you go, oh, I guess this book thing's not for me. But
Yeah.
it comes back around if
does.
if it's a part of your
If you
it's a
need to
part
do
of
it.
your quest, a part of your mission and your purpose to be here. We all got to figure out our purpose, and a lot
Yep.
of times books are tied to that. Books are a way that we can share our mission and our purpose and our passion with other people.
Yeah.
And if it helps people, that's certainly helpful. That's why I work in nonfiction and more business related. Because the other thing is, you're not going to get rich in publishing, like you say, overnight. Maybe over a period of time when you have multiple books,
Yeah.
or if you have an upsell.
Yeah.
If you're a professional, you have professional services, and you want to share your tips, your strategies, something you overcame. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if it's weight loss or business
No.
or accounting or finance or health or fitness, whatever it is.
There's a subject for everybody. There's a subject.
There's a subject for everybody, and there's an audience.
Yeah.
And today you can have your own audience.
Well, the thing, and I want to get to the final last thing. I always call this the free tip, because that's the best 4-letter word in the English language is free.
Right.
But before we do that, what I want to say is that again, if you have to do this, and you'd be surprised sometimes if you just start writing, because when I first started writing and doing my thing, I was like, because I follow a very well known, or I should say, back in the early 20s and 30s, Will Rogers. And I decided to kind of emulate Will's stuff and started writing my own stuff. In the beginning, I was like, oh, I don't know. Why am I even thinking? Well, then I started doing it and doing my things and my segments, and realized that I actually is a better writer than I thought, considering I have very little education. But with that being said, it fit with Will Rogers' thing because he misspelled a lot. But with all due respect, if you start writing, you'll be kind of amazed that if you get a little bit of a discipline, that you may see that you, one, love it, and two, you might be pretty good at it. And like we said, there's a subject for everyone. So let me ask you the best free word, the best word in the English language, free. How about a little free advice to actually take home with us today if we want to start off and get on this road to publishing or just writing?
Well, start writing.
Yeah.
Start writing. Whether you journal, whether you get a notebook and do longhand like I do, whether you got your iPad, whether you got your computer, pick a subject, pick a topic you like, something you know something about, and just start writing about it. And it may be experience. Maybe you write about an experience you had. Maybe you've overcome weight loss, or maybe you've had bankruptcy or financial issues, or you bought a house for the first time. You only have to know a little bit more than the person that doesn't know anything about that subject matter. So you only have to be a chapter or two ahead. You don't have to be 10 years smarter than somebody else.
I love it. I'm going to use that as your line. You only have to be a chapter ahead. I like that.
So that's the main thing. Start writing, and then obviously there are other tips, and we're going to share tips there. We're going to share tips every week on the live, and we're going to share writing tips and marketing tips and publishing tips for people, distribution. We'll talk about launches and how to get to #1 on Amazon. All of those things are important. But the main thing is you want to go on Amazon first because they're the biggest platform and
Yeah.
that's where your customers at.
Right.
Then spread out to those other platforms. Then you can go to iBooks. Then you can go to, Kobo. Then you can go to Barnes and Noble. You can go to all the other platforms if you want to, but Amazon is where you want to start. And
I
you'll
love-
get fantastic tips from secrets from us every week here on Talking Books Live. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate very much that opportunity to share with people because it's great information and it's a great time to publish. And if
Yes.
we're here to support your dream, okay?
Yeah.
If you don't believe in yourself, you don't think you're good enough, I'm here to believe in you until you can believe in yourself.
I love
Because
it.
you gotta believe in yourself a little bit. You gotta have some self-confidence. You gotta say, I want to do this. I'm going to commit to do this. I'm going to commit time and energy and at some point maybe some money. But you can learn anything you want to learn today. It's just how much time do you want to spend?
It is truly the best time. As a professional actor in Hollywood and as a person that does this and talk radio and all that stuff, I tell people, I'm like, look, we're in our homes now and we produce some really good content. And what we had to do like 10 years ago was astronomically the cost amount in doing all this stuff or the publishing, or you had to submit and you'd get pizza stained, ditto copied stuff saying, sorry, not interested. And,
Right.
and back then it was probably a lot more who than it is now. But now you have the power, regardless of how big you become, you have the power to make this happen. So Liz Lawless, I love it. Liz Lawless, the book catalyst, of course, the publisher's posse, all in one, our segment that we have on every show. Liz, thanks for coming on, and we will see you next show.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, Amen. What? Whoa, we got a couple of us here. Hold on a second.
Wait, he's gone?
He's
Jay Stephen left us?
left us.
Ugh.
I like the music I just had. It was like I was playing our theme music and I had a horse riding by while I was
I
doing
know, it's crazy.
it.
Hey, Liz, again, thank you for being here. That was a wonderful interview and a lot of great insight. I do love the line, you only have to be a chapter ahead. That's fantastic because, as you know, I'm writing a book now.
Yes.
And I am dealing greatly with imposter syndrome and what do I have to say that people want to listen to? And I realized she nailed it on the head. She says, you don't have to know everything that everybody wants to know. You just have to know more than that person who doesn't know it.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, I've got that. That makes it much easier for me.
And you know what I've said when you told us, I think you might have mentioned on the show, talking about the fact that you were going to write a book and the subject and what you were putting into it. I can't think of anybody else I know of because you spell check and grammatically check anything I do, which probably
I am anal retentive when it comes to that.
yeah, it's probably how you lost your hair. But
Yeah.
But the point is that, and along with the fact that I will say this, and if you go to your Instagram, you're doing a live every day Instagram. Tell us about that. I want to hear about it, really.
I do an Instagram live every day. It's usually about an hour long. Sometimes it's longer. Yesterday I did 3.5 hours, and I call it therapy. It's just basically sitting around talking to RJ. I have randoms on. I call them randoms. They're my followers and other people following other people coming on. I'm getting great numbers, and we're talking about anything and everything, whatever is on your mind, and whatever's on my mind. Most people are asking me questions about being a professional clown with Cirque du Soleil, or being a magician, or being an actor, or processes that I go through. But we're also talking about my love of coffee and why I still smoke, and all that stuff. Yeah. So. Check it out. I am Magic Fungi, MAGICFUNGI on Instagram. If you want to check me out, you can do that. It's usually about 8:00 in the morning every day, 8:00 Pacific time because I'm in Las Vegas. And just hop on and say howdy. That's what I'm doing.
What I will say, the cool thing about what you're doing, and I think you should see, I think on Instagram you can save the AI something file where it gives you all what you said. You are naturally a writer, and I think that this is how I did when I started doing my political humor thing as Will Rogers is that I started doing these blogs, and at one point between radio and blogs, I had 250 places that were getting my thing. Now I will tell you, extremely self-consuming, sitting here all day going, "Oh, I mean, I need an angle on something political or social." But what you're doing is actually a really great tip I want to give people, that if you're doing a live stream on your Instagram, or you're doing a whatever, or you do it even on, if you do a video and you put, there's a function in YouTube where it will pop out the words. That right there is for you to keep and put in your book, because you never know. I know someday we're going to hear potty talk from RJ. It'll be a book, and you'll go like, "This is the last 3 years of me being constipated with issues, and now I'm letting it flow." Wow, that was gross.
Oh boy, that's gross. That's gross. Hey, Will, this was a good one today. I know we've got another one coming up tomorrow. Do you know who that author is? Should we tell him, or you just want to hold off?
I think you have to show up, because if you if you go, "Oh, that one, yeah," not as my favorite, not my favorite, so I'm not going to show up.
There you
So
go.
and all of ours are going to be your favorites, but just in case, tune in tomorrow again for talking. Don't put that G in. That wasn't my idea because I couldn't spell it. Just was Talking Books live, and we will be back again with a great host. Of course, Liz Lawless. She is Book Catalyst and the Publishers Posse, or Posse Publishers, whatever. So thanks.
Hey, Will, you said we're going to be back tomorrow with a great host. Are we hiring somebody new?
Yeah, not me.
Not me.
Out of here. All right,
That's Will Roberts. That's Will Roberts.
That's RJ Owens. And
Hey, he knows my name.
hey, by the way, remember at the bottom, if you want the books or the crayons or anything else like that, click on Amazon and get lots and lots of boxes like I do now. All right, talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.